Hello again. Hello. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to episode 103 of your Best Kept Business Secret podcast. And on this podcast, we are looking at how the year started with, well, this had a massive dose of this.
Fired. You're fired. This is my boardroom, and by the way, this is my money. You're fired.
In the last few months has gone to this. And now leaves us going back to school and what we've learned about you, me, our friends, our family, our clients, our customers, and how we businesses have changed faster than at any time in our lifetimes and some before that. I've had conversations with small business owners asking them one very simple question. What have you learned in 2020 that's going to help you and your business in 2021? Roll the intro. So this past week, I put out a post to some of my listeners and followers and I asked them one very, very simple question, which was, what is the one most important thing that you have learned about business in 2020 and how will it help you in 2021? Now, the reason I asked this is that I'm sure you'll be hearing and seeing lots of opinions from self-style gurus, mentors and the mainstream media, but I wanted to find out what actual business owners found out about doing business in 2020. Now, deliberately, I've tried to avoid the words new normal, as that is just being used as a buzz phrase to encompass bloody everything. So I have rounded up some real genuine lessons from business owners that have gone through the pandemic from very different fields of business, but with some of, well, the most interesting lessons that they have learned. Now, first up is this from Michael Brooks. The one massive point and thing for me is that I have survived, having lost 4 to 5 months worth of work, and if I can survive this, I can survive anything. Now, Michael is a driving school owner, and I've known him through workshops and speeches that I've done, and he is his own business. Now, obviously, driving lessons weren't going to happen during different stages of our lockdown, and believe it or not, there are over 40,000 self-employed driving instructors in the UK. Unfortunately, I know Michael took some action to be able to survive a few years ago. Through the workshops and our chats, I know that Michael put some processes in place to protect him and his business and his family should he not be able to work. He is, after all, like I said earlier, his business. Now, some weren't so lucky, or perhaps, should I be honest and say, forward thinking. Now, in lockdown 1, I had an online conversation with a business owner who was complaining that although the Chancellor had announced a self-employed care package, that he couldn't get access to the cash until June. Do you remember that? Right? Okay. Now, let's get this right. The pandemic may well be a one-off. And let's be quite frank here, I'm fairly certain that business owners had no kind of access to any stimulation packages like this during the world wars. So here we had someone in government doing something completely different that had not been done before and had no precedence for either. Now, it then occurred to me, and then going on to talk to many people, including other business owners, accountants, bookkeepers, finance experts, etc., that many business owners were actually in the same boat. There just wasn't cash in the bank in case of emergencies. And whilst the length of the pandemic has been extended so many times, I think there needs to be an important lesson learned here and taken forward into the next year. Now let's just forget about the pandemic for a second. Have you got enough money in the bank to last 90 days if you couldn't work? What would happen to your bills? What would happen to your life if you were involved in a car accident, which is a very likely thing for driving instructors, by the way, or you were diagnosed with a heart condition or cancer or hell, even a mental illness? Who or actually what would pay the bills? Now, morally, we can't expect the government to bail us out every single time. We have to take responsibility, not only for our business and our choices, but also our life in business. So a simple question to you: what or how can you protect your business going into 2021 to help you survive the next knockback or downturn? Okay, now the next lesson is from Lawrence Laidlow, and here he is in his own words.
Hi Mark, it's Lawrence here from Funerals by Design. How's it going? What a great question you set just there. What is the most important thing you've learned about 2020 which will help you in 2021? Well, I think for me the answer has to be just keep going. I think if anybody didn't learn anything about their own resilience in 2020, maybe they're just not in business anymore. But for me, I just kept on going. I already had a plan in place and I just kept simply working on that plan. I increased my advertising spend, which is something I don't normally put much store into, but I did it anyway. I had to have a go. I advertised in new mediums and new regions. I'm even trialing radio advertising at the moment. I employed marketing specialists to promote me, and I simply trusted in their specialist skills. If they couldn't produce, I simply wouldn't have continued using them. But the net result has been I'm now busier than I've ever been. And if I take this strategy into 2021, it can only result in an even busier year for me next year. So thanks very much, mate. I hope to catch up with you soon. Take care, buddy.
Cheers, Lawrence. And I think one of the biggest things in that clip was the line: I increased advertising spend, I advertised in new mediums and new regions, I employed marketing specialists to promote me and trusted their specialist skills. Okay, now the reason I love that so much is that it beautifully dovetails into another comment that actually I got from Paul Horn at Goldfish Designs, and he does a lot of the visuals on TV screens, in pubs, clubs and restaurants, which is probably another casualty of the global bastard. But Paul says, I think one of the most important things that I've learned, and it's now become a business tagline, is that you've got to stay visible to stay viable. What does that mean? Well, it means you have to stand out from the crowd. You have to do everything possible to ensure you're noticed and build that know, like and trust factor. Otherwise, you are just another voice shouting in the throng of everybody else. How will it help him in 2021? Well, ensure that his clients know they're going to get a great bespoke service. They've seen what he's all about and understands that they're in it for them, to keep them visible, to keep them memorable in the minds of their clients. So cheers for that, Paul. I really do appreciate it. And it was the one thing that actually really amazed me in lockdown 1, which, if we remember, lasted 4 months for many people, were the businesses and the business owners who went missing, but suddenly reappeared at the back end, smelling blood and opportunities, and went into the mode of buy my shit as soon as they thought that anybody was reopening. It actually, do you know what? It ruined their credibility. For many in the service industries, going quiet and then coming out and selling was probably the worst thing they could have done. Now, I hear a lot of business owners talk about the thing called know, like and trust, and many swear by it. But as many forgot about it when things got tough, they just went around, thought about themselves, started sharing pictures of themselves in their back gardens, drinking lots of wine, whilst their customers and their clients were struggling with the whole situation. Now, like Lawrence and Paul, I actually increased my visibility because I wanted to help as many business owners get through this mess as possible. I increased my blogs, my videos, my podcasts. Hell, I even created a bloody website for small business owners to get some ideas, thoughts and advice from. But this isn't about me. It's the simple fact that both of these businesses increased their customers and their clients' awareness of them, and they ramped up their availability to serve their customers in brand new ways. So yes, People like me may well tell you to cut your costs and your overheads, but oddly, one of the things you should do more of or more with is your visibility, PR and marketing, if I can say it. Now, the businesses I advise to do this during various stages of lockdown all returned to pre-pandemic levels really quickly, and some like Lawrence and Paul have actually exceeded those levels. So as Paul said, to keep your business visible, you keep your business viable, which is a great tip for 2021. Now, the next one I want to talk about is from Lexi Black at Glade Digital, a website design company. She says, what I've learned from 2020 is that customer service goes far beyond the standard and often shallow gestures of politeness that we're often guilty of just relying on. Humanity thrives on building and maintaining relationships. That's just our instinct as social and emotional creatures. Building authentic connections with clients takes a little more time, but it's well spent when the respect, trust and loyalty not only encourage repeat business, but also allows us to reignite the passion we had for our work and better understand how best to help them. Now, I think the biggest point here is that customer service has and is now evolving at a much, much faster pace. It's no longer about please and thank yous, although I didn't even actually get that in my local Sainsbury's this morning. It's about building relationships even from the lowest levels of transaction. Now, there is a flavour of communication that comes up a little bit later in one of the other contributors, and I'll make a slightly separate point then. But one of the biggest things I got a client to do was do something that Lexi has suggested, and it was really simple. The client had been swept up in the local sweatshop revelations here in Leicester, but certainly was not part of them. Now, over the last 5 years, they had worked exceptionally hard to improve working conditions, pay and health and safety, so much so they're being used as a shining example to other businesses across the country. But the general media decided not to talk about that, and rather they talk about the negatives because it sells stories. Now, one firm was not going to take on the Daily Mail and the rest of them, so we agreed for the owner to contact his customers and his clients by phone just to chat and see how they were, see how the pandemic was affecting them. The result? An extra £300,000 in sales, and not one single sales call made, just relationships strengthened. So going into 2021, you need to start thinking about a customer retention or relationship strategy to stay in touch and keep their welfare at the forefront of your mind. Now, this moves nicely onto a contribution from Nikki Harris from the Driving Academy. Now, she says, I would say that the most important thing that I've learned is the value of keeping up with my communication with franchisees and pupils so that they feel valued and important. I added to our group chat every few days with jokes and funny videos to keep spirits up, and arrange regular Zoom sessions for the team just to sort of like chat over a drink. We all kept up with texting pupils with interest in their well-being and links through social media for their health and general care. Now, although there are some similarities here, I was amazed at how many people left their teams, their employees or the franchisors, to their own devices. The way of working has changed. For years, people were told that they couldn't work from home because the company wouldn't be viable. Well, guess what? We all had to bloody work from home to keep the company viable, and now the expectations of both the business and the employees have changed. 2021 will be a formative year as to where your teams work and how you're going to manage them. Now, balances must be struck, but a lot of owners, directors and management have an awful lot to thank people for as we move forward. So start thinking about your communication and management strategy for your teams that help your business tick over. What's best for them and for the business going forward? Now, the next one is from Lawrence Charles at Jalapeno Business Services, who are an IT firm. And Lawrence says, you've got to be relevant to the market as it stands and how it will evolve. We've sold a lot of hardware this year as businesses have changed their physical work setups. It's been nice, but I believe this year has pulled 2021 and 2022 spend forward. We now have to look at our offering in order to keep relevant for the coming tough years. We will be talking to all customers about streamlining their businesses going forward so that they can stay relevant and continue to trade. Now, I absolutely love this one because there are, again, two things in there. And I'll deal with the unknown one first, which is bringing the spend forward. It's definitely something to keep an eye on for businesses that have had to speed up their online processes and presence far faster than ever wished for. And that's not a bad thing, as at time of recording, the Arcadia Group has fallen into administration, and one of the biggest things thrown at the collapse is their online presence and processes were amazingly underinvested in and therefore have been left lagging behind the competition. Now, the second thing is staying relevant, and it's difficult to stay relevant in a world that moves so fast, but it's even harder if you keep your head buried in the sand. So keeping your eyes and your ears open to what's happening in your industry, in your niches, or in your customers' habits has to be part of your strategy going into the next year to keep you safe and moving forward. So thank you so much for that, Lawrence. It's really appreciated. Now, the next one is from the delightful Hannah Rose from Complete Rose Events, whose business has been very hard hit during the pandemic. She's in the wedding industry. Now, she says, for me, it's time blocking has made me much more productive. Also, to put yourself out there, do things that you are worried about, asking for, or doing, as they may just say yes, and it'd be a massive turning point for you. So again, two things from this comment. So thank you so much again, Hannah. It's been really easy not to be productive during lockdown. So finding a way to stay productive and not allow things to drag on for days into other days has kind of been pivotal even for other businesses. Now, time management and being as productive as you can will be key during the next year, especially as you getting gigs or work will probably depend on it, as people will now be looking harder at what you do and how you do it. Now, the second thing here is reaching out. Hannah started coming to masterminds and workshops during the pandemic and has made some unbelievable connections going forward. Now, what I noticed was in that her confidence has grown the more she reached out to people that she wanted to work with, could work with, and has worked with in the past. I guess it goes back to relationships and communication again, but I would say that by reaching out, having conversations, you may well be surprised at the reactions and the enthusiasm that you get, even if you're struggling. Lining up new opportunities, options, and keeping things moving, as well as expanding your network, will, in my opinion, be absolutely key for the next 12 months. That is a fact. So thank you so much, Hannah. It's really appreciated. Well done. Now, I've left these two until the end because they actually tend to cross over. The first one is from Stephen Mather, a solicitor based in the East Midlands. Now, he says, number one, being known is important. Number two, being kind and decent is important. Number three, we can all probably charge more. Number four, but only if the customer gets why they need you and your services. Number five, Mark Ford and the work you've done on my reason why when we did face-to-face, and then since had the recommendation to one of Simon Sinek's seminars has been most fruitful for me, which is thank you, Stephen. Typical solicitor, ask for one and get five things, always hammering home their point. I am joking. I love the top four, and he is absolutely spot on. And whilst he mentions me in the last lesson that he learned, and truly thank you, my friend, for saying that, it's hugely kind of you, but he mentions someone that I look at as an absolute legend when it comes to really understanding the main driver as to why customers buy from you, but also why we get up in the morning and fight for anything that jeopardizes our businesses and the ways of life, and that is Simon Sinek. Now, I'll make some comments after I've played you this clip from a chap called Paul Fisher, who's an entrepreneur that I've known for about 8 years now. 8 years, I think, and it's sort of like it came with one sentence in an email, and it really sums up his ethos, and he's gone on to make some great award-winning achievements. And the line in the email read, I always remembered your talk from quite a few years ago, and Simon Sinek came up. Start with why. Now, this is what Paul has learnt and what it means to him going into the next year.
Dale Carnegie said, most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who kept on trying when there seemed to be no hope at all. Now perseverance transforms average, everyday people into world champions. So, the key to victory, the key to success is never giving up. In order for you to do that, you need a strong why to prevail, a strong reason to get going. The more difficult your obstacles are to overcome, the more you must keep your reasons for succeeding in front of you. Vince Lombardi said, the difference between the successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but a lack of will. Abraham Lincoln said, I'm not concerned that you have fallen, I am concerned that you arise. Champions make adjustments, not excuses. Being down on the ground, flat on your back, is no place for a champion. Being at the crossroads we all face now, the decisions we make now ultimately define our legacy. Each loss, each setback, each heartbreaking disappointment will try to disguise itself as failure, but it's all a lie. Many times on the road to success, you're going to feel crushed, exhausted and alone. Each time life knocks you down, you must bounce back with an even greater hunger to succeed. And the ones who have the hardest time doing this have weak whys. You can only go as far in life as your why will carry you. Champions have self-awareness. They know why they want what they want, and their why carries them to the promised land. The why is the birthplace to all champions. She is the mother to all legends and all the greats in every field. The more deeply you are connected to the thing you are trying to accomplish, the more likely you are to achieve it. Natural talent and ability is all good, but they won't carry a quitter, so you have to find a why you can run through walls with. Find a why that makes you absolutely invincible. Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow. Now I'm not ignoring what anyone is going through, and I won't lie and say it's easy because it's not. It's going to be a struggle. You're going to have to fight and claw and scrap your way up out of this thing, but you can do it if you want to. Now, are you a pretender or are you a champion? You can't have a testimony without first having a test. The whole world is watching you right now to see how you respond. Show them what you're made of. Never give up.
So thank you, Paul. Thank you, Stephen, for your comments, because I do truly believe that if you get the basics in business right, the main driving force for not only yourself, but for your customers and clients too, then you will surge ahead of the rest. If you believe in what you're doing, how you're doing it, and why you're doing it, things will happen. The chances of giving up recede. But not only that, customers, suppliers, they will be drawn to you over and over again. You are all champions because we have made it to the end of the year and none of us have experienced ever anything like this in our lifetime. And I really hope we don't do it again. I'm just hoping that the lessons that you've endured during the last 12 months become the knowledge and incentives to move you forward in the next 12 months, ladies and gentlemen. And that is it for this particular podcast. Genuinely, I hope you found these ideas and lessons really helpful and that you're going to take some of them on board going forward. Now remember, they do say that knowledge is power. No, it's not. Knowledge is only power if you do something with it. Remember that. It's one of business's biggest secrets. So, if you want more ideas, thoughts and strategies and get stuff that really works in your business, just go to bestkeptbusinesssecret.co.uk, sign up and download the latest online magazine and take a look around the hundreds of articles, videos, podcasts to get you the business that your hard work truly deserves. Or get in touch with me as I'm currently offering a free 30-minute business focus call where I'll help you get unstuck, get you moving forward, taking action, growing your bank balance as well as your business. And go to www.markford.uk. That is it. If you liked us, loved us, or simply tolerated us, leave a like, love, or subscribe, and I will see you on the other side. Be brilliant. Thanks for joining me.